Green Lantern number 26 is written by Jeremy Adams with art by V. Ken Marion, colors by Romulo Fajardo Jr., and letters by Dave Sharp. The title of this issue is The Starbreaker Supremacy Part 3. This picks up where Green Lantern Corps number 7 left off. Last issue ended with the Lanterns escaping to the other side of the Source Wall to avoid the Sun Eaters, and now those same Sun Eaters are trying to punch their way through the Source Wall to go after them. I don't know why they can punch the Source Wall and be totally fine, since anything that touches the wall gets absorbed into it. Those aren't statues covering the wall. Those are all of the people who ever got too close to the wall and touched it. Maybe it's because the Sun Eaters still haven't totally crossed over into this universe? But if that's the case, then why can they punch the Source Wall at all? Anyway, on the other side of the wall, the Lanterns have made contact with the entities. And right away, everybody gets their emotions back. Maybe it's because the entities are massive repositories of emotional energy, or maybe the Source Wall is shielding them from the forces that drain the emotional spectrum. Either way, everyone on the Interceptor has been reset back to normal, so they can go out and talk to the entities and plan their next move. We find out that this fear entity isn't actually Parallax. Apparently Parallax died, and the rest of the entities grew a new fear entity from their own fear for their own survival. Okay, first, the fact that they could just make a new fear entity like that is awesome. And it directly addresses my confusion from last issue about how a fear entity shouldn't be there since Parallax didn't go with them to the other side of the Source Wall during the Lights Out storyline. But also, unless I somehow missed something huge, I don't think the Parallax entity ever actually died. To be fair, Parallax has become pretty confusing over the years, to the point that I should probably spend a video sorting it all out. Either way, we have a new fear entity now. I don't know what name I should call it. Tell me in the comments section what this new fear entity should be named. Now, there is one entity that is conspicuously absent, and it's the big one, the life entity. We're told that the life entity, quote, gave itself to Kyle Rayner, sent him back out to find help. Since the life entity isn't there with them anymore, that most likely means it merged with Kyle so that he'd have enough power to make it back through the Source Wall. But then, where is it now? It can't still be inside Kyle, because if it was, he wouldn't keep losing his White Lantern powers. And it can't be dead, because anyone who read Blackest Night knows that the life entity is the source of all life in the universe, and is forever linked to all of that other life, so that if the life entity ever dies, so does every living thing in the universe. Maybe, and this is just a theory, maybe the life entity itself has been fractured. In Green Lantern New Guardians, Kyle created 6 new White Lantern rings to divide up his power, so 7 rings counting his own. And then later on, his ring was torn apart, and made into 1 ring of every color, which all flew away seeking new users. All of that happened after Kyle came back through the Source Wall, so is it possible that the life entity was split into, 13 pieces, and scattered across the universe? Can the Lanterns go around and collect those rings like they're the Dragon Balls and put the life entity back together? Could this be what the White Lantern Corps has been doing since they last appeared in 2015? But that's all just speculation. Hopefully we'll find out what's going on with the life entity soon. Right now, all of the other entities want to merge with the Lanterns because I guess they think that'll help them get through the Source Wall since it worked for Kyle and the life entity. Hal isn't having it. He's sick and tired of these creatures taking over people and using them however they want. Hal proposes a team-up between the Lanterns and the entities, where they work together against a common enemy without merging. But then Hal says that as soon as the Sun Eaters are defeated, he wants the entities to go away forever and never come back. And my god, as if this series needed to give me another reason to disagree with Hal Jordan. The entities are an interesting piece of the Green Lantern universe, and they have so much untapped potential. This is the first time we've seen them in 12 years, and Hal is already talking about getting rid of them forever? If that's what ends up happening, it'll be a colossal waste. Although hey, if you really want to get rid of the entities in a way that's meaningful, maybe they sacrifice themselves to refill all of the central batteries on Oa. Plus, this issue has reminded us that new entities can be born at any time, just like this new Fear entity, and just like that new Rage entity that's been growing inside the Earth since 2016, so it wouldn't be the end of the entities as a concept. Anyway, Kyle absorbs some energy from all of the entities so he can become a White Lantern again and open a doorway and let everybody back into the universe where the Sun Eaters are waiting. This doesn't actually make sense, because if Kyle could go beyond the source wall and then use his White Lantern powers to transport all of the entities back over to this side, then why didn't he just do that the first time he went beyond the source wall and used his White Lantern powers to come back to this side? Hell, last time he was boosted by the Life entity, which is the most powerful of all the entities, so Kyle should have been more powerful last time than he is now. But whatever, the Lanterns and the entities have made it safely back through the source wall, and transporting everyone drained all of the White Lantern power that Kyle just built up. His Green Lantern powers start to recover after a short wait, probably because he was sticking so close to Ion, the willpower entity. We've seen that happen before, during the Sinestro Corps War, when Boudica's Green Lantern ring ran out of power, but then suddenly came back online because she was riding on top of Ion. The entities don't actually do much during the fight, they're kinda just mounts for the Lanterns to ride. And because there's so many giants in this fight, most of the Lanterns are so tiny you can barely see them. And it makes this action scene a lot less exciting than it should be. Like, look at this. Joe is riding on top of the Greed entity, channeling the power of the Orange Lantern to shoot a Gatling gun at a colossal space vampire. That should be awesome, but is presented in a way that diminishes it. They give a big hero moment to Hal, where he cuts one of the Sun Eater's hands off with a sword, but I'm taken out of it by the fact that this construct is a reference that makes no sense coming from Hal Jordan. The sword Hal uses is Cloud's Buster Sword from Final Fantasy VII, and I have never read anything in my entire life that leads me to believe Hal Jordan is a gamer. I could see him playing Space Invaders or something old like that a few times during his childhood, but that's it. There is no way in hell that Hal even knows what Final Fantasy is. If you really want a cool moment where Green Lantern cuts off the bad guy's hand with this specific sword, then you have to give this moment to either Kyle, Jessica, or Joe. Probably not Kyle, since he already had his big moment of the issue. This is just like Sinestro making the Sandworm from Dune a few issues ago. Constructs aren't one size fits all. They come from the minds of the user. They reflect something about the person who makes them. They should not be a vehicle for whatever random pop culture reference that happens to cross the artist's mind while they're in the middle of drawing, unless the character making the construct actually is a person who would make that kind of reference. Anyway, Hal cut off the Sun Eater's hand to separate him from his gray power ring. And if you're sitting there thinking, wait a minute, since when do they have power rings? I'm wondering that too! Kyle just suddenly notices that the Sun Eaters are being fed large amounts of power through their rings, which is probably the stolen emotional spectrum energy, which, I don't know, is it all in the Sorrow Central Battery now? Because the gray rings are presumably connected to the Sorrow Central Battery, but you would expect that to only contain the power of Sorrow. But we know the Sun Eaters are consuming the full power of the emotional spectrum, so maybe the power of the Sorrow Battery is just a conduit that gives them access to the rest of the spectrum, I guess? And hey, it kinda seems like those gray rings are important. Kinda seems like the villains would want to grab them before flying away. Or that the heroes would want to take them and use them somehow. Maybe figure out a way to access the spectrum power that's been stolen. But no, apparently not. The Sun Eaters fly away and the Lanterns and entities follow them back to their home base, ready for the final battle, which seems weird since this is only part 3 of 6. But who cares about that? Keli and Simon are still on Oa, and Keli is building something in Simon's garage. Oh, did I say Keli? I meant the being controlling Keli's body. Whoever or whatever Ellie Rose saw through that door in Keli's mind has taken over, and they seem to want to find a new host body. Is that what they're trying to build? Could it be that the gauntlet isn't actually a gauntlet, but the hand and forearm of a synthetic life form? Last issue did make a big deal about organic and inorganic life being equal. It seems like a strange choice to focus on this as a side story with everything else that's happening, but maybe whatever's going on with Keli will become more prominent in the second half of this crossover, since again, it's only half over and the final battle is apparently about to start. But that's gonna do it for this issue. The story continues in Green Lantern Corps number 8, so subscribe if you want to hear my thoughts about that. And tell me your thoughts while you're at it. What do you think happened to the life entity? Do you want to see the entity stick around? Who or what do you think is controlling Keli? Tell me all about it in the comment section down below, and follow me on Blue Sky if you need something to read while you're waiting for my coverage of Part 4. Until next time, thank you for taking the time to watch. My name is Dan, we'll talk again soon.